My name is Christian Mendoza. I was born in San Luis Potosí, Mexico. I remember at the age of 5, my dad, he was a police officer in the narcotics and gang unit. Every time he would come home, he would have his uniform. It was like a really tactical uniform. At times he would bring a dog. I guess it was his canine. They would give him a dog. But most important of all, I remember on the weekends when he would bring his vehicle, I would sit in the driver's side and I would hold my hands on the steering wheel, and I couldn't reach the gas pedal, but I would just remember, just hitting the lights and seeing those lights kind of reflect on the in the garage, and just pretending, that I was chasing a bad guy, somebody who just committed a felony, and I was on a mission to go get that suspect and put him in jail. So about 12 years later, living now here in Austin, Texas, I remember applying for this Leadership Academy with the U.S. Secret Service in Washington, D.C. It was an extremely competitive application. I remember the application when I submitted it, when it was just like this thick. Months later, I received a notification that I had been accepted into this Leadership Academy. So I was super excited, ended up getting the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C., work with the U.S. Secret Service there, and just simply seeing, now an entity at a federal level, that pretty much intensified what I wanted to do and, to become a law enforcement officer. Shortly after coming back from the Secret Service, I had the opportunity to become an intern for the Austin Police Department. I volunteered thousands of hours with the robbery unit, homicide unit, and sex crimes units. And all these units pretty much gave me more, amped me more in what I wanted to do and become a police officer. About 5 years later, I was about 20 and a half. I spoke with the chief, the prior chief, to the police department, and I told him, like, hey, this is what I want to do. So we kind of went through the process of like, hey, there's going to be the requirements, and there's going to be what's going to happen during the academy. So when I was looking at one of the requirements, I told him, like, hey, like, I don't think I'm a U.S. citizen. Do you think that's going to prevent me from applying? He said, unfortunately, yes, because there's nothing that I can do. It's pretty much a state requirement that, you have to be a U.S. citizen to apply. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can work something out so that I can eventually apply. So I remember going back, spoke with my family. We went to talk to an immigration lawyer. The immigration lawyer said, like, hey, there's no way at the moment or a fast process for you to join the police department. They said, maybe potentially joining the military. So I said, okay, I'm 100% okay with that, just fighting for our country. So I went and talked with the recruiter, and the recruiter said, like, hey, you have to be at least a U.S. resident in order to apply. And I wasn't even a U.S. resident. So that was pretty discouraging, knowing that, hey, there's just no way that I could apply for the police department right now. Around the same time, Congress passed the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. President Obama ended up signing that act, and it's pretty much an act that prevents people from being discriminated against, certain elements or certain entities. So at that time, I was sent out to my family. So hearing some of the comments that they were making about the passing of this act was pretty, it was heartbreaking. So I remember that one night we had invited church members and friends over to our home for a dinner. Around the same time, we're approximately, I want to say about 15 people on the table. I was actually in the living room just talking with some friends and my siblings. When I heard that comment, somebody say, why should we treat certain people with special rights? And another person say, like, hey, I don't think God is gonna love people who are homosexual or people who are in the LGBTQ plus spectrum. So hearing that, I didn't, it was heartbreaking for me. So by now there was that dead end as far as applying for APD. There was a dead end about joining the military, or even with my family, not being able to open up to them, because hearing their thoughts and what they were going to feel towards me, I felt like I was pretty much against the wall. Like, where do I turn now? So shortly after that, I ended up, going back to speak with the chief, and he said, like, you know what, like, even though you cannot become a police officer, there's other opportunities for you as a civilian within the Austin Police Department. So I looked into that, and shortly after, maybe about 2 years later, an opportunity arose, and that was an opening for the LGBTQ plus liaison for the Austin Police Department. So I ended up applying for this position. Within 3 months, I received notification that I had been hired for this position. So it was a moment of extreme joy, because I knew that, okay, I had finally landed at least somewhere where it was closer to achieving my goal of wanting to become a police officer. Maybe not necessarily as a sworn officer, but at least I was within the department serving other people. So shortly after joining this position, there was an incident in my life where my mother ended up finding out about myself. But surprisingly, she told me like, hey, if you thought that I was gonna disown you, if you thought that I was gonna be mad at you, I want you to know that you were wrong. My job here on earth is to love you as a mother and to support you and to be just that mother because you are my son. So whatever you do, I know you have good intentions for other people, and I support you for that. So that was an extreme relief, but at the same time, it was a push forward in knowing that, hey, now even though I couldn't join, the police department, there were so many obstacles coming my way. I finally landed in a position where I got support from the community, from my mother and friends, and I knew that I was gonna finally able to serve in some way our community. So my role as the LGBTQ liaison for the Austin Police Department, it's being be a liaison for the LGBTQ plus community, but at the same time working with APD officers who might necessarily know or experience, being LGBTQ plus, and pretty much at the end of the day, it's being able to bridge that gap, that trust between both communities, whether it be like, hey, this is how we can better serve our community here in Austin, Texas, and at the same time, listening to some of their concerns and like, hey, what can we do as a law enforcement agency to ensure that we can continue to build that trust here in our city. So being 26 now, the lights and sirens, they're not so exciting anymore like it was when I was 4. But to this day, what brings joy and excitement is seeing other people smile and say like, wow, like, you know what, like, thank you for what you do or what the Austin Police Department does or what the city is doing to help our community, the LGBTQ plus community. So just hearing those kind of things and people being appreciative of being like, wow, like people really are trying to, bond with us, it is what definitely the same excitement and the same joy that I have with those lights and sirens. It's what I get when I hear those type of compliments and comments from the community.